Michael Jordan has finally broken his silence on the NBA Finals, and his shocking comments about Victor Wembanyama have sent the basketball world into a frenzy.
He made a big mistake, and I will tell you why.
But Jordan wasn't finished, not even close. The second thing MJ revealed about Wemby was even more shocking, and his warning could completely change the future of the young superstar's career. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Michael Jordan's words have the entire basketball world paying attention. Michael Jordan doesn't usually speak publicly about young players unless something truly catches his attention. For a legend like MJ to address a 22-year-old rising star means something significant happened that challenged one of the most respected unwritten rules in professional basketball. After the final buzzer of Game 5 of the NBA Finals echoed through the arena, Victor Wembanyama's career took a surprising turn. The Knicks had just captured their first championship in 53 years on the Spurs' home court, but the aftermath created a storm of controversy. Instead of staying for the traditional post-series handshake line, Wemby walked directly toward the locker room tunnel and avoided the usual exchange of respect with the opposing team. Jalen Brunson was reportedly trying to find Wembanyama after the intense 5-game battle to share a handshake and show respect, but Wemby was already gone. The moment quickly became a major talking point across the league. Only a few Spurs players stayed behind while the rest followed their young star toward the tunnel, creating a scene that left many questioning the message it sent. When reporters later asked Michael Jordan about what happened, his response was brief but powerful. MJ delivered a forward warning that immediately caught the attention of the entire basketball world. He said this:
He made a big mistake, and I will tell you why.
He made a big mistake, and I'll tell you exactly why. The fact that Michael Jordan even chose to speak about this situation shows just how serious he believes it is. Everyone knows MJ rarely gets involved in today's NBA drama and almost never comments on controversies involving younger generations of players. So when Jordan decides to break his silence, people immediately pay attention. But the most surprising part came from what happened next. While Wemby was avoiding the spotlight, Jalen Brunson was showing everyone what true sportsmanship looks like. Instead of running straight to his teammates to celebrate the historic championship, Brunson walked across the court to the Spurs bench and embraced head coach Mitch Johnson. He showed respect first, congratulated him, and later explained to the media that it was simply how he was raised, to always show class and respect, whether you win or lose.
Great person. I hugged, said what's up to Coach Johnson from the Spurs first, just to show respect, because I guess kind of how I was raised. I think win or loss, you always got to show respect regardless of the outcome, and got a lot of respect for them over there.
On paper, it looked like a moment of pure sportsmanship. But when we get to the second warning MJ gave Wemby, you'll see that Brunson's actions may have revealed something much deeper. Some believe it was a calculated move that exposed Wemby's lack of experience on the biggest stage. And if he doesn't find a way to respond, this moment could shape how the league views him for years to come. The controversy only grew when Wemby finally stepped up to the post-game podium. He ended his media session by looking at reporters and saying, "Appreciate y'all. See you all. Never." He then claimed the Spurs had dominated much of the series and suggested their performance was better than the final result showed. For many fans, hearing that while the Knicks were still celebrating felt like a poor display of perspective. However, the full story goes deeper because the final score doesn't completely explain how the Spurs lost. The way the series slipped away made the defeat even more painful for Wemby and San Antonio. The Spurs held a 14-point lead in Game 1 and couldn't close it out. They built another 12-point advantage in Game 2 but suffered the same fate. After winning Game 3, they returned in Game 4 and experienced a historic collapse, blowing a 29-point lead, the largest blown lead in NBA Finals history. Then, in the elimination Game 5, they surrendered another 16-point lead. The numbers showed that the Spurs actually controlled the majority of the series, leading for around 72% of the total minutes played, yet they still walked away with a 4-1 loss. This was supposed to be Wembanyama's moment, his stage, and his statement to the league. Instead, he watched the Knicks take everything away. The handshake controversy wasn't just one isolated incident, it became the final chapter of a series filled with tension, emotions, and physical battles. That's why Michael Jordan's reaction carried so much weight. Jordan understands what happens when a competitor shows weakness at the highest level because he spent his entire career waiting for opponents to make those exact mistakes. What happened in San Antonio reminded MJ of a lesson he learned decades earlier. When reporters pushed Jordan for his thoughts, he went back to his legendary rivalry with the Detroit Pistons. He explained that after losing to them, it was painful to walk over and shake their hands, but when the Pistons refused to do the same, it sent a clear message: they believed they had completely broken the Bulls.
It's new because of their personality and the way that they, their rivalry against us, that they were going to pay the same respects back. But they didn't have to, because we knew that we dominated the series and we knew we were over that hump.
And here's the darker truth. If you really listen to what Jordan was saying, it becomes one of the coldest breakdowns of basketball psychology ever explained. MJ wasn't telling players to simply be polite or act like a soft competitor chasing meaningless gestures. He was explaining that shaking the hand of the person who just defeated you on your own court is actually a massive display of confidence, dominance, and mental toughness, not surrender. By walking directly up to Jalen Brunson, looking him in the eyes, and shaking his hand, you send a silent message that you are not broken. You are telling your opponent that you will be back, that you are ready for the next battle, and that next time they will need much more than luck to beat you. But the other side of the situation is even more dangerous because it reveals the mindset of the person walking away. When the bad boy Pistons famously left the court without shaking Jordan's hand in 1991, MJ didn't feel hurt or disrespected. Instead, he felt completely validated because he knew Isaiah Thomas and the rest of Detroit understood what was coming. Their quick exit showed Jordan exactly who had the real power moving forward. Wemby created a similar moment with the Knicks, but the difference was that he was the one who lost the series. Instead of showing strength, the moment exposed frustration and vulnerability in front of the entire basketball world. And you better believe Jordan was paying close attention. MJ looked at Brunson and saw a reflection of his own relentless competitive mindset, making this situation much deeper than a simple post-game handshake controversy. In that brutal Game 5, Brunson scored 45 points, accounting for nearly half of the Knicks' total offense that night. It was one of the most dominant individual performances in an NBA Finals closeout game, with the only player ahead of him on that list being Michael Jordan himself after his legendary 1998 Finals performance against the Utah Jazz. Jordan sees Brunson as a player with the same fearless mentality, a smaller guard who carried an entire franchise through determination, focus, and an unmatched will to win. Then he looks across and sees Wemby walking into the locker room after the defeat. According to reports, Jordan shared his thoughts about the situation and admitted, "I was in a similar situation, and it fueled me even more when they did that. So I think he will always have a target on his back when playing the Knicks." That final statement explains why this moment could become a major turning point for Wemby's career. The Pistons' walk-off in 1991 didn't stop Jordan. He used that disrespect as motivation and turned it into fuel for a legendary six-championship dynasty that dominated the NBA throughout the 1990s. Now Wemby has given Brunson and the entire city of New York the same type of motivation. Every time these teams meet, that memory will be waiting. Unless Wemby finds a way to reinvent himself, respond like a champion, and win at the highest level, this moment could follow him for years. And the rest of the NBA was watching too. When legends and current players start sending the same message, it shows that this was more than just normal post-game frustration. Many believe Wemby crossed a line that champions are expected to respect. Draymond Green also addressed the situation, explaining that leaving the court without facing the player who defeated you can send a message that your opponent has gained the mental advantage.
Look your killer in the face. You gotta look them in their face. By the way, if you leave the court and you don't look me in my face and I just beat you, I actually know that I own you forever. Because you couldn't even look me in the face.
He completely called the moment disappointing and questioned the entire Spurs organization, arguing that they are missing a true veteran presence who can step in, guide the young star, and explain that you cannot simply walk away when the pressure gets intense. A real leader, according to this perspective, should be there to remind him that facing adversity head-on is part of becoming a true champion.
And I'll blame it on you. I'll blame it on lacking the leader to show them that, hey, this is what you do, not walk off.
Now, look at the ultimate irony in this situation. Draymond is speaking from a place of real experience because he understands what it feels like when one moment changes the way the entire league views you. This is the same player whose 2016 final suspension played a major role in shifting the momentum of the Warriors' historic 73-win season. If anyone knows what it feels like to give an opponent an emotional advantage and let them get inside your head, it is Draymond. He understands that once you reveal weakness, every competitor around you starts looking for an opportunity to attack. But the following morning, the media storm reached another level. Stephen A. Smith went on First Take and strongly supported Jordan's message, arguing that one emotional decision could cost a young superstar valuable opportunities. He brought up one of the harshest examples in NBA history, reminding fans how Isaiah Thomas was left off the 1992 Olympic Dream Team after the infamous Pistons walk-off against Michael Jordan and the Bulls in 1991.
Even though you might like something, it could potentially be detrimental and damaging to your reputation, which could ultimately impede and roadblock opportunities that might come your way. Isaiah Thomas would know.
Stephen A. made it clear that the league does not easily forget moments like this, especially when you are expected to become the next face of the entire sport. He argued that decisions made in high-pressure moments can follow a player for years. But just when it seemed like everyone was ready to turn against Wemby, the conversation took a surprising shift. Jay Williams stepped onto the same set and completely challenged that viewpoint, arguing that today's athletes are not obligated to put on a fake smile or pretend everything is fine immediately after a heartbreaking season-ending loss.
We see it all the time in college basketball.
I got a lot to say.
They didn't shake hands. They don't respect the game. Why do I need to shake your hand?
That's part of the obligation.
Kendrick Perkins immediately pushed back on NBA Today, saying he actually enjoyed the intensity and tension behind the walk-off. He argued that this type of raw emotion, real rivalry, and unscripted hatred is exactly what makes the NBA so entertaining and separates it from other sports.
We have to get back to rivalries. We have to get back to guys not liking one another. It is good and great for the game of basketball.
Perk was practically leaning into the camera, arguing that the league has become too soft and that seeing Wemby react with raw frustration and competitive fire is exactly the type of emotion the game needs. He believed that moments like this create real rivalries and bring back the intensity that fans love. But then active players started joining the conversation, and the situation became even more personal. Knicks guard Jose Alvarado appeared on The Breakfast Club and openly criticized Wemby's decision to leave, calling the exit a little too extreme. His comments made it clear that the Knicks viewed the moment as a sign of disrespect, something the team would remember every time they faced him in the future.
I mean, I got mixed emotions, you know. I mean, I'm a competitor too, but I stare my enemies down. You know what I'm saying? Like I look forward to him. I shake him. I feel like the way he did it was a little too crazy for me.
But then Robert Horry, a 7-time NBA champion who also won titles with San Antonio, stepped in and completely defended Wemby. Big Shot Rob explained that he had no problem with the walk-off, admitting that after losing heartbreaking games in his own career, he often didn't shake hands either because the emotions were too intense and he wasn't ready to fake being happy for the other team. However, the biggest reaction came from Shaquille O'Neal on Inside the NBA, and his response was completely different. Shaq didn't need to raise his voice, he simply looked into the camera and explained that the situation showed Wemby was mentally overwhelmed. In Shaq's view, if you claim to be the true leader and face of a franchise, you have to step onto the court, accept the defeat, and take the loss with the same confidence you show when you win.
It sounds like he's, like Chuck said, like he's flustered, and you can't be flustered at this. I know you're down 0-2, but...
Look, you can agree with Shaq, Stephen A., and Jordan's perspective, or you can side with Jay Williams and believe Wemby had every right to be frustrated after a heartbreaking loss. But the people debating this on television are missing the much bigger picture. Wemby may have thought he was simply showing emotion and competitive anger, but to understand why this could come back to haunt him, you have to look at the exact moment another legendary team made the same mistake against Michael Jordan. What happened after the finals wasn't some new trend or a modern player reaction. It was a repeat of one of the most infamous moments in NBA history. Wemby unknowingly followed the same path as the 1991 bad boy Detroit Pistons, the team that spent years physically battling Jordan and the Bulls under Chuck Daly's direction. From 1988 through 1990, Detroit created the famous Jordan rules and completely controlled Chicago's path to success. But by May 27, 1991, everything had changed. The Bulls were dominating the defending champions, leading the series 3-0 and humiliating Detroit on their own court at the Palace of Auburn Hills. With only 7.9 seconds remaining in Game 4, Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons made the decision to leave the court instead of staying for the traditional handshake. But it wasn't just a simple exit. They walked directly past the Chicago bench, avoided eye contact with Jordan, and left the floor while Scottie Pippen reacted during the broadcast. But here's the part that should concern Wemby. That decision damaged the Pistons' image and became a defining moment in their legacy. John Sally later admitted he disagreed with the choice and still regretted how it happened. Even Isaiah Thomas eventually acknowledged that it was one of the few times in his career where he handled a situation poorly, and many believe it played a role in him missing out on the legendary 1992 Dream Team. Think about that, the original players involved in the famous walk-off eventually wished they could change how that moment unfolded. The difference is that the Pistons were already champions who had dominated the league for years. Wemby experienced a similar moment while coming off a finals loss. That instantly changed the way many people viewed the situation. The Knicks became the team with the confidence of Jordan's Bulls, while Wemby was placed into the role of the player who walked away. But if you think criticism from NBA legends is the biggest challenge Wemby faces, the next move from Jalen Brunson made the rivalry even more intense. Remember when Jordan warned that Wemby had placed a target on his back? That target quickly became reality. While the media focused on the handshake debate, Brunson and the Knicks created a moment that could fuel this rivalry for years. After returning to New York for their championship celebration, Brunson embraced the victory and helped create a memorable team moment that showed exactly how much the series meant to them. But that emotion didn't come out of nowhere. The entire 5-game series was filled with tension and physical battles. In Game 3 at Madison Square Garden, Wemby and Brunson had a heated moment during a possession that led to controversy. Later in the series, another physical play involving Karl-Anthony Towns added even more intensity to the matchup. By the time Game 5 ended, the rivalry had already reached a boiling point. So when Brunson showed respect to Spurs coach Mitch Johnson after the game, many viewed it as a championship-level display of professionalism. But behind the scenes, the Knicks carried the memory of the entire series with them. The finals became a major television event, attracting millions of viewers and creating a rivalry moment that fans will remember. The biggest question surrounding Wemby now is not whether he is talented, because his ability is undeniable. He has already produced historic numbers and joined an elite group of players with incredible postseason performances. His skill, size, and potential make him one of the most unique talents the league has ever seen. But Jordan's warning raises a different question. What happens when the motivation you think you gained becomes the motivation you gave your opponent? Some fans have defended Wemby by pointing to examples of other superstars who showed frustration after losses. LeBron James had moments where he walked off after playoff defeats, and Larry Bird admitted that intense rivalries sometimes created situations where emotions took over. But the difference is that those legends eventually backed up their attitude with championships. History often forgives a controversial moment when a player returns and wins everything. Until Wemby does that, critics will continue comparing this moment to the wrong side of basketball history. The most surprising part of the situation is how it challenged the image Wemby had built over the past few years. He has often spoken about patience, mental strength, and controlling emotions under pressure. He has discussed his focus on personal growth and staying calm during difficult moments. But when the biggest test arrived, many questioned whether he was able to maintain those same principles during defeat. That is the challenge waiting for him now. The next chapter of the Knicks-Spurs rivalry will determine whether this moment becomes a permanent stain or simply a lesson that helps create a stronger champion.